Brian's transitioning over to join us now, and he's in there just observing and saying hello and being a part of our group tonight. So,
welcome.
Big shout out.
Congratulations. Thank you. All right. Anything else?
we got to approve it. Yep.
Do we have motion approval?
Carnegie moves to approve.
Malat second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Okay, motion is approved. Next on the agenda is public input. We recess formal portion of the meeting to entertain comments or questions on the agenda items. Chris, I don't know if we have anybody that's here to address the board.
Nope. Nobody here tonight.
Okay. We'll reconvene the formal portion of the meeting for board discussion and interaction. Action items, Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association annual membership.
So we are a WIAA member school. This is an annual item that we approve. We just have to vote on it and act on it, and then Frank and myself sign off on this document. Am I forgetting, Andy, anything on this one? No? Okay. Pretty cut and dry. Like, we want to have sports and activities that comply with WIA regs. We got to be a member. So
We have a motion.
Carnegie moves to approve.
Grabowski seconds.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. That is approved and moved on. Information items, school board member end of the year reflection.
Student board member.
I'm sorry, student board, excuse me. Is that
Okay,
you?
so we just made a little presentation kind of going over all the things we've gone through this year, and we wanted to share that with you guys.
Okay, so if we look at our timeline for the year, we started in September when Owen and I were officially installed as non-voting members of the board. Then in November, we held our first ever town hall meeting, and we had over 50 participants from grades 10 through 12. And some of the things we talked about at that meeting were general plus Delta things, board updates, and we did some icebreakers. Then in March, we had our first NGC town hall meeting with 10 participants representing 9th grade, where we did pretty much the same thing as our first 10-12 town hall. Then in April, we had our first virtual town hall meeting and survey. So we had 13 people on a Google Meets to discuss virtual learning, and that was grades 9 through 12. And then we also collected more than 300 responses of feedback about virtual learning that Ms. Mongan shared with her staff.
Awesome.
So over the year, we certainly talked about a lot of topics with our town hall groups. The three kind of big ones we hit on were school safety. We made a lot of discussions with administration about improvements to lockdown and fire drills so students are more experienced and felt comfortable being able to handle any situation they were thrown in should it happen for real. And then we started brainstorming ideas for how we can secure the entering and exiting of the building for students who have senior privilege, co-ops, or just have to go in between the 10 through 12 and 9th grade center. And then, of course, as you guys saw at last meeting, there was the school logo that you were presented on. We did a lot of talking about that with our town hall to kind of give them feedback from a student perspective. And then we had our big survey we sent out to all the students for virtual learning to get their feedback.
Then some of the impacts that came out of those discussions were every meeting we had was followed by a meeting with Ms. Mongan and Mr. Weiss for our NGC meetings to debrief the results and just to see, what her take on everything was and how she could relay the messages to admin or the rest of her staff. School safety emails that are usually only sent to parents are now sent to students as well. We've had one unstructured fire drill. So we had a fire drill during a lunch period, which was something that we wanted to have. Our virtual feedback was shared with teachers, as I said before, and I feel that the board now has a better view of some of the high school issues.
So for us, we also got a lot out of being school board members this year, especially given this is the first year that it's a much bigger position than it has previously been. So some of the lessons we learned were about organizational skills when we had to create agendas for our town halls, report town hall attendance, especially to the attendance office to make sure that everyone was excused. And then public speaking skills, obviously, just like right now, we've had to do a lot of presentations in front of the school board. And we've also spoken at school board meetings about other topics, which was definitely a step out of our comfort shell, but I know we grew for the better from that. And then presentation skills, summarizing the mass quantities of information we've gotten from students and kind of bringing that into a concise presentation so it's easy for us to deliver to you or administration. And most importantly, we learned a lot about the power of the voices of our peers and how easily change can be made when that change is relayed to the people it needs to be.
Nice.
Then for next year, some of our goals are to continue town hall meetings for all the grades. So we want to start having them 9 through 12 from the beginning. We want to increase participation and work to sustain that participation throughout the year, because we definitely saw a decline in how many people were coming as the months went on. We want to find a mainstream outlet to educate all of the students about board updates and collect feedback from all of the students, because right now we feel it is sort of centered only on the town hall students. So either working with our school Sword and Shield journalism club or uploading things to the student council website. We just want to find a better way to keep every student at Oak Creek High School more informed. We want to encourage more students to attend board meetings. So if there is something they don't disagree with or they think they have an opinion on, they should come and talk about it during public input. And then finally, expanding our reach to more students throughout the district. So not just Oak Creek High School, but also the middle schools and even the elementary school students. That is all.
I have more of a comment than a question, if that's okay.
Owen.
So I just wanted to say, I have personally really valued having your voices on the board this year, and I know that everybody on the board thinks that too. Like the moments you've shared or interjected on topics we've been working through has really been helpful for all of us, and we just wanted to say thank you here at this point in the year with your final presentation here before we turn the card into a summer. So thank you both very much.
And Owen, I hope to see you wearing that gown at graduation in July. So, but I love seeing it today.
It looks sharp, very sharp.
Hey,
Thank you.
Owen, I just wanted we as a school board want to thank you for all your hard work joining our school board. I know this is obviously your one of your last school board meetings. And so just want to say deep down thank you. You and Sophia have been like echo Dan's comments, but you really had the feet in the sand, right? You were in the battlegrounds for us and kind of gave us the perspective that we don't see or hear. And so thank you so much. You added a huge different perspective to our board meetings. Good luck to you. Don't forget about us. Make me proud.
Thank you.
So maybe a virtual high five or a round of applause for Owen at his last board meeting. So
Yeah, yay!
He'll be in the audience soon.
I have a feeling it won't be his last board meeting.
right.
Just his last student school board meeting.
Well, soon enough, you can run for a seat. That happens, you know.
There you go.
Don't run
Owen and
against me,
Sophia,
please.
I just have one, I guess I do have one question. Can you give us some idea of this generalities on what was the results of the surveys on the virtual learning with the high schoolers? Just basically, did they like it? Did they not like it? What was their opinions on it?
I mean, a lot of students will never be happy when there's change because it kind of makes them uncomfortable. But overall, I'd say that we definitely did the best we could as far as the change to virtual learning. And most of the issues that were run across were like smaller teacher specific issues with like organization, no like major across the board issues.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks again. All right, informational items. Continue on B, Start College Now Early College Credit Program. Annual update first semester 19 and 20.
So each year we go through the Start College Now and Early College Credit Program, just update from the fall semester. And we had 17 students that actually attended MATC for a variety of courses. And then there were 16 students who actually enrolled at the high school into a Calculus 3 course where we partnered with MATC to hire the instructor versus sending the students to MATC. There was a cost benefit of having the class taught at the high school versus having students actually go to MATC. So you can see that the numbers, 17 students that attended MATC in the fall, and then 16 students that actually also had Calc 3 course. And then for early college credit opportunity, there were a total of 14 students who took advantage of that opportunity in the fall. So this is just an annual update. There's no action item required. It's just to keep the board informed, and we're working with MATC right now for spring information. There's the COVID-19 really disrupted some of the learning, and students are continuing to work on some of their coursework through the summer so that they can complete their courses officially. Right now, they've got till July to get the coursework done that is outstanding. So the goal is to have both fall and spring updates, but right now we're not able to do that based on the information that we need from MATC.
Okay. Did you find that overall, did people, students and parents like this option? Was it, I think I had asked the question, a separate message to you about, was this in our budget? And you had said yes. Did it meet the numbers that we had in our budget for this?
I can refer to Andy about how we budget for this. Andy, do you want to answer that question, or do you want me to continue? You want me to?
Nope, I got it.
Oh, okay.
I just had to get my microphone on. So we were pretty close to budget. So from the budgeting standpoint, I work with Stacy McKendry. So she gives me a list of students who are potentially going to enroll in the fall. And then we just pick the student with whatever potential college they're going to go to with the highest cost to it. So if they choose Marquette, UWM, and MATC for Calc 3, we'll just use that as an example. We'll just take whoever has the highest 4-credit course with that and budget that line item. So we're pretty close. So we pretty much know who's going to go or about who's going to go. So we're pretty close to budgeting actual cost.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yep,
Is
thank
my
you.
mic on? Can you guys hear me?
Yep. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yep.
I just would like a little more of your thoughts, John, on those numbers. So I know that that's what we budgeted for, but was there anything else that you thought about it? Like, was there anything that any opinions or feelings or things you took away from these numbers? Because honestly, I don't have enough context to know, these numbers are great. They're very straightforward and clear, but I'm not really sure what to take away from them. So I'd really like it if you could give a little bit more indication from your end on what you take away from them.
Well, number one, it's an opportunity for students to be involved in something that they're really interested in high school while earning credits towards their future profession. It could be nursing, firefighting, police, mechanical engineering, anything that they really offer at MATC, culinary. The numbers are in line with what they've been in the past. So for example, last year we had 22 students that attended MATC, but that also included students that went to MATC for the math course, whereas we brought the math course into the high school. So actually our numbers, if you combine the 16 students that went to the 17 that went to MATC and the 16 that took the math course at the high school. We have actually 33 students. So that is an increase of approximately 11 students. So it's very beneficial. It gives students opportunities that they normally would not have access to if we didn't have that partnership with MATC. So it's an outlet for students to get, like I said, college technical credits while still being in high school and really being involved in a career that they find interest in.
Do the kids have to like seek this out themselves? Do parents know about it? Do they ask about it? I mean, how is the word spread about these classes?
Sure, through the guidance department and through communication at the high school sends out there's criteria that they have to have academic standings and so forth. So that's really important that we understand, is that it's just, you don't sign up and anybody can go. There's criteria that we have to follow at the high school. But for the most part, it's communicated through the guidance school counselor department and then communications with the high school communication.
Okay. Thank you.
And Cheryl, to answer your question, from one of the 16 that took course offered at the high school.
You kind of blanked out on the mic.
Oh, and we're sorry. Could you take it again from the top, please?
Yeah, sorry. From the perspective of one of the 16 students that was at the high school, it was definitely communicated from the guidance counselors that I had options as whether to take it at the high school through MATC or take it at a college of choice. And I think taking it at the high school is very beneficial. It allows for a lot of flexibility in the student's schedule, not having to take a half day off to drive over to a college to take the math course.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly the reason why student board members are a spectacular feature of the Oak Creek Franklin School Board. So
thanks, Owen.
Thank you, Owen.
Owen, can I give you a high five on that one? Nice job.
All right, John, do you want to take number C too, or is that?
Yeah. So let me just get to my second file. So this is really a first reading. There's two attachments included: the Start College Now and Early College Credit Program, which we just talked about. There's some updating in language. Anything in yellow is going to be new. Basically, what we did, or not what we did, but what's being recommended is that we remove Technical College Course Program, and then Start College Now is now the umbrella for it all. So when you go through, anything in yellow is new. What you're going to see is it's more technical things, just a lot of line strikes, like removing Technical College Course Program to Start College Now. That's probably 95% of the updates in the first link. And then I added in the Wisconsin Administrative Code Chapter PI 40. That was recommended with the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. So we just took their recommendations and inserted it into our process and our procedures.
Just a little behind the curtain for everybody on the meeting right now. Each member of the district team has a section of policies that they're responsible for updating on a regular basis. So John occasionally and others have to do some hygienic upkeep of these things. So the Wisconsin School Board Association will often send us primers on language changes, law change, updates to programs, that sort of thing. So like Andy will bring these most often methodically, like things that come through his department that need some linguistic updates or some terminology changes. So I'd characterize, fair to say, John, this is a hygienic update to this policy.
Yeah, it's more formalities than anything. And you'll see in the second link, I think there are 4 actual little updates that are in yellow. So they're very minor, but they're through the guidelines and recommendation of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards.
Good.
And I like this format of when you highlight and with the strike through, it makes it much easier to figure out what's changed. So thank you.
Yeah, it's when you're reading through them, it gets convoluted a little bit with a lot of the
Yeah.
verbiage and language. So I try to just pull out the key features, what's new, and then what's being taken out through strike throughs.
It's tough when we do the old policy with the new policy mirrored next to
Right.
it. You basically have to become an expert in both to like
Right.
notice the differences. And it's such
Right.
inside baseball so often.
Right.
Like we just like this format. So
Right.
No.
Much better. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Consideration returning to City Hall.
So we have no linked report for this, but I just wanted to make the board aware that the city had reached out to us and said if we were interested in resuming or ultimately at some point resuming our meetings at City Hall, that we could start scheduling those meetings for our new sessions. So I'm perfectly comfortable making this decision, but I thought I'd get a couple more perspectives on this before I entered into a new, before I asked Catherine to reserve meeting space for us on 2 Mondays a month for the next year. So
Right.
anybody, my thought was we'd attend our meetings like normal when that would start up again in the next month or so, instead of Andy and Jill joining us at the front table, they'd take those 2 tables in front of us, so we could kind of sit every other person, something like that. I could sit down in front if I needed to. We could spread out, and then we could lose the headsets, but still continue to broadcast our meetings and still maintain kind of the distancing guidelines that we're working with. So I had thought to email Catherine later this week and say we were interested in that, but if people have opinions on the subject or would like to stay here for out of an abundance of caution or something like that, I'm perfectly happy to wait and see on our return for a few more months, something like that. But opinions, please.
Hey,
Would-
Dan, I'm sorry.
Okay. Would you be looking at maybe doing it like starting with the July meetings?
Jill and I would reach out this week and see when. I was under the impression that we could resume pretty quickly if we wanted to.
Okay.
And I thought we'd probably do our work study that I'll talk about here. But maybe we
Right.
do our July or certainly our August meetings over
Right.
there. Right.
Yeah, I think that might be a good idea just because that way we can kind of still keep an eye on in case there's uptick in cases with all of the other things that have been going on in our society right now. We can just kind of wait and see a little bit. But I think if we started in July or August, I think that would be fine.
Dan, when I attended the meeting, City Hall Common Council, so they have 7. They had 5 up on the bench, call it. And then on the left table, when you're looking from the bench out to the window, to the door, they had 2 aldermen on the side, 6 feet apart. So there was more social distancing on top.
Right.
So that's something we could also think about doing too. So,
And that's what they had said when they reached out, that they'd figured out a way to do that with the group over there. And I thought we could take similar measures. So should I do that? See about July, perhaps?
I'm fine with
Or, sorry,
I'm good with
excuse me,
that.
August, excuse me.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. And like I said, if, we're just a community partner with them, if things change and we want to come back here, we can always come back here. So,
Right.
Okay.
Is the plan still for our annual meeting to be at wherever it was planned? I can't remember where it's supposed to be. Forest
Edgewood.
Ridge? No, Edgewood? Edgewood? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Review upcoming school board meeting tentative agendas.
So I alluded to it a minute ago, but at our June 22nd meeting, we'll plan to be back here. We'll do the second reading for both policies that John walked us through this evening, but we'll hear from him again when we do academic standards, semi-annual review of Health and Wellness Center. So Troy and Andy will work with us on that one. Andy will walk us through the May budget report in a little more detail than we've done in some prior months, just because it's summer and we're coming up on some big stuff. Nexus quarterly update, you will be able to see some of the work that's been able to be done during the shutdown. Right, so that'll be nice for everybody, and hopefully everybody will be in a great mood after we see all the construction progress, because then it's my evaluation in closed session afterwards. So July, we'll have 2 kind of big ticket items to talk about. So you only see a couple of things on that agenda. The calendar, people are usually very interested in this, but Lisa and Anna Lee have circulated that with the group they've worked with before, so we can get a little further out on the calendar. We're sad to see both of them leaving us soon, and they've done all that work in the past with the calendar. And as all of you know, that's one of those subjects where you can never make everybody happy. So the two of them holding the relationships with those groups and having worked so hard on the prior year's calendar, we thought, okay, let's get this together. We also thought that perhaps if things continue to improve, people will want to make vacation plans even further out there. Let's bring this forward a little sooner. And then our retiree health plan participant overview is always a hot topic, right? So we put two items that, these are things we're going to want to talk through in detail. Information items, just stuff to consider. And then in July, we've talked about this in prior meetings, we're going to do our curriculum planning update and planning process. So John and company will come join us here, and we'll talk about how the analogy I like to use is how the curriculum adoption process looks a little like CIP in a very different and complicated and interesting way. So John will talk us through all of that with some special guests, and we'll all learn a lot about curriculum adoption processes. So, and these agendas, as you all know, I'm sure there'll be a thing or two that we add along the way. It's a very busy time of year, and we've got everybody. The office is going to be a little busier this summer than in other years just because of everything we're working through and all the contingencies we're developing. So I wouldn't be surprised if we added an item or two along the way, but that's what we've got docket for now.
Okay.
Okay. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So Nigley moves to adjourn.
Malat, second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Owen and Sophia, please stay on the call. Okay. Board members too. Okay. So we've been working. Chris is going to turn the record feature off for a second, and then we're going to talk about one last social thing for the board.